guys, this is Lala Legacy, and welcome back to another episode of SeaBed. So, let's jump right back in. Narasaki's hand stopped midway to her knight. She then reached out toward one of her pawns, yet, once again, her hand stopped and returned to her chin instead. A black kite outside let out an ear-piercing cry. I think you could have done some serious damage with that first move. Yeah, but I don't think it would have been enough to break through your wall. If you go this way, my lineup will get to the point faster. If you attack, though, you could take my rook at the front. I tilted my book slightly to see the board. Another cry of the kite reverberated across the mountain range outside. I glanced at the gray sky, but saw no birds from this angle. I wonder if it's going to rain today. Then maybe I should do this. The radio said the latter half of the day would be cloudy with weak rain. Narasaki's knight moved forward, taking out my pawn. Did you notice any changes in your mood after coming here? Not really. You're not feeling anxious or ill for no apparent reason. I feel pretty calm. Are you asking me because it's going to rain? It's not related to the weather, just... The battle on our board was proceeding just as we had foreseen. I heard the cry of a bird again, but this time it sounded closer. Raising my face, I saw a blue bird on the windowsill outside. You sure hear birds a lot in this place. They seem to pass through this area often while migrating during winter. The mountain here is full of evergreen trees, which must attract them. Migratory birds. It's hard to believe something that small can actually cross the sea. I've heard that they can put half of their brain to sleep as they close one of their eyes. This allows them to keep flying for long periods of time without rest. Really? Narasaki moved one of her pieces and considered the bird beyond the window with curious eyes. The little thing let out a cry and jumped around on its thin legs a few times. Hearing Narasaki move a piece again, I shifted my gaze back to the board. Although, at the cost of a few pieces, she managed to prevent her king from being surrounded and was now gearing up for an attack. I began reaching out towards one of the pieces I failed to evacuate in time, but stopped. I realized that if I took it, I'd be opening a way for Narasaki's queen to get inside the back of my formation. Narasaki raised one of her eyebrows in an obviously exaggerated way. You make it look like you aren't thinking anything, but you're actually conniving and laying traps all over the board. That's so like you. Not at all. It was just a coincidence. I realized that Narasaki was gazing out the window, so we spent a short while watching the little bird together. Its round, almost ball-like frame made it obvious that the bird had not been lacking in nutrition as of late. It kept fluttering its wings with much vigor. It would let out a chirp or two once in a while. Would you say it's chirping or just crying? I'd say somewhere in between. Narasaki tried imitating the bird's voice. I spent a few moments comparing her attempt to the actual bird. By the way, how many days did you take off again? About 10. Oh wait, whoops. I mixed it up. Oh well, about 10. I'm planning to spend a week or so here. I see. What about you? It's about the same. Oh, maybe I didn't at first. Okay, whatever. Narasaki pulled out a schedule book from the pocket of the coat dangling on a nearby chair. It took a few seconds looking it over before answering me. I see you brought that with you. Oh, this thing? Oh, this thing. Narasaki gestured toward me with notebook in hand. No, the one that's peeking out from your pocket. I pointed at another notebook in her coat. It was the same one she used to jot things during my examinations. Oh, I thought it might come in handy. It was my turn to make a move. But instead of touching my piece, I asked Narasaki what I couldn't yesterday. We have time today. So, Why don't you tell me about what's been bothering you about my condition? Narasaki shrugged her shoulders. It's nothing overly serious, really. I was just thinking about your symptoms a little. Thinking? What do you mean? Remember how I said they weren't interfering with your life? Yes. I'm hallucinating without letting anyone else know. That's right. I was just thinking about exactly what kind of hallucinations you were seeing. The Takako you see in your mind participates in conversations with the people in your office and does her job without fail, right? And it all felt natural to the extent you didn't realize there was something off. I just got curious about how it must look to you. It seems almost like another reality exists within you. Narasaki paused to catch her breath after that long speech. I'm not sure how to answer that. Well, I've no idea exactly what you're seeing, but I think we've had this discussion before. I'm more interested in how you process the conversation between Takako and your other colleagues. Understanding that might help shed more light on your exact position. My position? Yeah, for example, Narasaki placed her schedule notebook on the chessboard and began drawing some sort of graph. Not real, real, circled, circled, and lines. She pointed at the circle around the words not real and said that it existed only inside my head. That's the world where you thought Takako was still around, and reality is the world where you have remembered that she's not. I made a slight nod as I looked at the graph. Narasaki's pen pointed at the not real bit again. You lived in this one for at least 2 years, and in order to avoid contradictions, you've changed the dates of your trip, as well as that of Takako's disappearance. And your current position is probably somewhere around here. Narasaki pointed at the tunnel-like sign between the two bubbles. The side closer to reality, to be precise. You've fixed your memories and are on your way to return here. But you haven't done so completely. Well, not yet. You still keep seeing little snippets of your surreal world when something triggers it. That's how I interpret your condition, at least. And those triggers are things that remind me of Takako, correct? I would say so. The best way to get over this is to spend enough time in an alien land until you're completely back in reality. I realized I could no longer hear the chirping of the little bird. I glanced out the window. The bird had already flown away. Narasaki was watching the empty window too. By the way, did you plan anything specific for this trip? Not really. Good. With no plans, you can relax without thinking too much. Of course, you can always use your brain when you feel like it. Watching from a distance can help you notice new things in your life. At this time of the day, I would usually be in my office working. I blinked and considered the chess pieces on the table. But now I was playing a game with Narasaki in a place I'd never been before. She was certainly right. I felt more relaxed here compared to when I'd visit her at the clinic during work. I had a pretty rigid schedule near the end of the year. We received tons of orders last year, so the office was basically on fire during those final days. Now that I thought about it, I might have taken on too many jobs because I calculated Takako as being part of the workforce. I wondered if I'd unknowingly done something bad to my two colleagues. On top of it, since I realized I was seeing things that couldn't have been real, I ended up skipping work and going to Narasaki's clinic instead. It was only then that I started realizing I'd actually been hallucinating for years. That said, I managed to both finish all of my duties by the end of the year and fix up some of my broken memories at Narasaki's clinic. In my mind's eye, it felt like it all happened in seconds. I stifled a sigh, to which Narasaki reacted with a small nod. Honestly, it was pretty incredible how I kept that charade up for over 2 years without anyone putting me in a hospital. With that mystery cleared up, I shifted my thoughts to what I was supposed to do now. So, you're saying that the symptoms will eventually go away on their own? That's what I believe at any rate. Also, you believe I had a specific reason and some sort of goal in mind for conjuring up an alternate reality in my head. Is that correct? Well, that about sums it up, yes. The corners of Narasaki's lips curled up. I see your mind's back to being in full throttle. Thank you. That said, you should leave the complicated stuff to me and instead focus on relaxing. Treating you is my job, and if I find something new, I'll inform you right away. Are you okay with that? Yes. Anyway, I'll avoid speaking about this unless something new comes up. Meanwhile, you should concentrate on enjoying your vacation. As you say, Doctor. Narasaki chuckled. It's the first time you called me that. Do you like it, Doctor? Narasaki crossed her legs again and said it wasn't too bad. Ooh, she's like, hello, Doctor. After that, we resumed our game and continued playing until we got bored. Saying she wanted to look around the area, Narasaki got up and left my room. Yeah, I'm sure she wants to just explore the area. Oh, hello. Oh, this is Narasaki's point of view now. As I looked up at the Oculus window in the center of the library, the winter sky beyond it was completely dark, despite it being still being evening. The lights on the library walls lit up, banishing the shadows to a small area in the middle of the room and the corners of the ceiling. Everything around me was now illuminated in warm colors. A young girl sat at the desk located deeper into the room reading a book. Holding the sizable book with both hands on its sides, the girl had it placed vertically on the desk before her, essentially preventing me from seeing her face. I continued to walk by the bookshelves, my heels clicking against the wood floor. The book had the girl's complete and undivided attention, even when I approached her. Hello. Her small shoulders jerked up a bit as I addressed her from behind. She turned her head around, her pale eyes glaring at me from below. Won't your parents be worried if you stay out this late? She regarded me with indignant eyes. I could see the light of distrust in her eyes, much too intense for her age. However, that light soon vanished, and she returned her gaze to the book. Well now. The girl's desk was littered with various other books and notebooks. The girl closed the book and reached out toward the other end of the table, her ponytail dancing in the air behind her. Pulling one of the notebooks to herself, she opened it and began scribbling something diagonally, completely ignoring the ruled lines. I glanced at the other nearby notebook that was open and saw the bird's eye schematic for some building. Can I take a look? The girl, still in the middle of writing, gave me a cursory glance and responded with a brief nod. I picked up one of the notebooks and began flipping through its pages. They were the plans of the index store, with each page detailing not only its general measurements, but the furniture and various other little things as well. I see you spent a decent amount of time on this. Upon closer inspection, I realized that the other books on the desk were all related to the history of the mansion. There were numbers of old informational pamphlets and newspaper clippings scattered around as well. Are you doing this for a school project or something? I don't think I've ever seen anyone go this far for a simple homework assignment, though. It's just my hobby. Oh, that's one peculiar hobby in this day and age. In lieu of a reply, I heard only the shuffling of paper and the sounds of scribbling. Looking up at the ceiling, I spotted a star beyond the Oculus window. I realized the scribblings had stopped. Do you live close by? Who are you? Why do you keep talking to me? Irritated, the girl closed the scrapbook that she'd been looking at and reached out to one of the pamphlets. I'm nobody special, but it's only natural for adults to be worried about children. Is that so? She kept turning the pages, but her pen remained still. I returned the page of the notebook I myself was holding. Oh, I think the layout of that room has changed a bit. I placed the notebook on the desk and pointed at the guest room on the second floor. How do you know? That's the room I'm staying at. The girl gave me a suspicious look over her shoulder. The light from the lamp inside intensified as it began to grow even darker outside, illuminating her face. Her somewhat big slanted eyes sparkled black in the artificial light, revealing more about her thoughts than her soft-spoken demeanor. Her nose looked a bit too refined for someone of Asian descent. Her lips, pink like flower petals, formed a line in a gesture of rejection. She sat with her back straight against the backrest of a chair that was slightly too big for her. There was a certain sense of sophistication to the way she moved. The girl looked me up and down, her eyes eventually settling on my face. The sun's already down. Have you contacted your family about being late? Is that all you came here for? Said the girl, narrowing her eyes. Her gesture resembled my friend's. I'm looking for a lost item. Have you seen a silver bookmark anywhere? It has a clover-shaped cutout at the top. Oh, whoops, that was Narasaki speaking. My bad. The girl turned a few pages of her scrapbook and handed me the bookmark that was there. I found it on the desk closest to the window. I thought it could come in handy, so I put it in my book. Thanks. My friend accidentally left it there, you see. Being made of metal, the bookmark had some weight to it. The borders were decorated with an ivy pattern, while the top part sported a carving of a four-leaf clover. The orange light of the room was reflected on its surface as I tilted it. By the way, about your research, have you already talked to the person who's usually at the counter here during the day? The girl picked up another pamphlet and began reading it. She's the caretaker of the inn you're investigating. She's been working here for quite a long time, so I imagine she could tell you a lot of things that you wouldn't find written down. The girl remained silent and turned back to her scrapbook. I can ask her if you want. In exchange for going home today? I like that idea. The girl closed her notebook. I'll be going then. Okay, bye! Well, that was cute. Good morning, Sachiko! The weather sure is nice today, isn't it? Why don't we do it here now, seeing how it's so warm? I pressed my fingers against my temples. They still ached from all that alcohol. I was still sitting on my bed in my pajamas when Narasaki entered the room and passed by me. She parted the curtains, making the light reach the tip of my toes. I glanced at the window and saw her moving the table with the chessboard on it to a spot with better sunlight. Or to a spot, sorry. After that, she pulled up a chair and sat down in front of the table. You promised to help me kill time until Miss Nanai's aunt drops by the library. I did? I don't remember. Well, I do. Where does all your energy come from? Well then, let's see. Do you remember where we left off? Not really. Was I supposed to write it down? I was just checking. I'll go get changed. After pushing aside the sheet covering my legs, I climbed out of the bed. From behind, I heard the glassy sound of the chess pieces being moved. I remembered how Narasaki sacrificed her knight to open an attack on my left side at the beginning of the match. We returned to a stalemate as soon as I fended it off, though. I see you've finally woken up. Did you come to my room this early on purpose? The corners of Narasaki's lips curled upward. It was worth a try, I suppose. Anyway, I would have never guessed you were so good at chess. I'm not that good. You seem to be quite used to the game, though. Takako was really obsessed with it at one point. She pretty much forced me to play with her all the time. Was she better than you? At first, I kept losing, but I'd say we were about equal by the time we quit. Oh, why did you quit? But that is all the time that I have for this episode, guys, so if you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up down below. And if you haven't already subscribed, by subscribing, you're becoming part of a legacy. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!